impact is really everything. I think as human beings, certainly most people have a desire to make a positive impact on their world. When it comes to philanthropy, we do so according to our personal value system.
Today's guest already had a profound impact on me before we even started talking. Bob Burg is the co-author of best-selling book, The Go-Giver. This book didn't just impact me. It's had a dramatic impact on individuals and companies the world over. Since its release, it's been translated into 30 languages and sold over 1 million copies. It's a Wall Street Journal and Business Week bestseller. Inc. magazine even ranked it as the number 10 most motivational book ever written. This book was certainly not Bob's starting point for influence. For 30 years, he's been speaking to and consulting with companies to implement his principles into their cultures. The American Management Association named Bob one of its 30 most influential leaders. I reached out to Bob because I really wanted to get his thoughts on how the Go-Giver applies to philanthropy. In the Go-Giver spirit, Bob graciously obliged. He is living proof of the efficacy of its philosophy. It's with great gratitude that I welcome you to my conversation with Bob Burg. Bob, I know that you're involved in some charitable activities yourself, so particularly caring for animals. Tell me a little bit more about that. Why did you get into it?
I just really have a deep love for animals, really all types. And really it breaks my heart that animals are in many ways so mistreated and abused. And it just seems like that's an area where I can be of help. And it's something that, to me, it's an honor to help out in any way I can.
So you have pets yourself?
Yeah, well, right now I have one cat, which is a story of a foster that we're not really able to place because he has biting issues from when he was abused as a kid. But I can't really have any other pets in the house with him. So it looks like right now, that's pretty much, he's pretty much my only pet. For years I was I like to say a node in a network of fosters. So I often had a number of cats at a time, and but yeah, not right now because of Buddy the cat. Grew up with dogs.
You grew up a dog person, now you're a cat person.
I love all animals. I'm still really, if it's one or the other, I'm a dog person more than anything. But because of the situation and circumstances, it turns out I'm a cat human as opposed to a dog human right now. Yeah.
I'm sure many people can relate to that.
Exactly.
I'm so grateful for this opportunity to chat with you because reading your book really did inspire me in ways that I really didn't expect it to at all. I'd heard wonderful things about it, and then finally gave it a go and read The Go-Giver, and it was really just deeply impactful for me. And obviously many other people have felt that way too, but now it's been 17 years since that book came out, and you'd already had prior success. You've been around for 30 years doing great things, making waves. When did you know that The Go-Giver was going to be a true success that it is?
Yeah, I think John David Mann, who's my awesome co-author, and he was really the lead writer, storyteller. I think we kind of we suspected there was going to be a market for it. We thought it was going to be a successful book. But I guess when we both just started right away, receiving lots of emails and calls, hearing from people, seeing it spread all over, and we kind of knew that there's something special here, even more than we thought. So then, it was a great feeling, and really it's the people who spread the word, which is what makes it happen. So it was, I say, a combination of John's expert storytelling and a whole lot of people who have been real ambassadors of and for the message. So, we both consider ourselves very fortunate for that.
Yeah, well, it is. It's a gift in and of itself to those of us who need that mindset shift.
Thank you.
But as I was reading it, I kept coming back to this whole idea of philanthropy, thinking about giving, Go-Giver, right? And the more I thought about it in each of the laws, it it didn't have a direct correlation like I expected it to. So that's one thing that I really wanted to touch on as we have our discussion today. But one of the things I've heard you said, I believe you said in another interview, was that you kind of pushed on the idea of giving back, as philanthropy is giving back, and you focus on the idea of giving. What did you mean by that, and what do you think that distinction is?
Yeah. So over the last, I'd say, maybe 20 years or so, the term giving back has become a euphemism for philanthropy, for charity, for community involvement, for all the good things and those are all very, very high values, of course. But I think the term giving back is actually a misnomer
Hmm.
because it implies that you first took something, okay, and now
Mhm.
you're, having a moral crisis and and you feel you must give back for what you've taken from others. And I
Mhm.
disagree with that premise. I think if someone has been very successful in business, assuming they're operating in a free marketplace where no one has been forced to do business with them, uh, they made their money because they offered something of value that people willingly bought because they believed it would
Mhm.
improve their lives to do so. So they made a lot of money. So are they giving back anything? No, they had exchanged value freely with other people.
Mhm.
What they're doing is they're simply giving. They're giving because it's congruent with their values to do so, not out of a sense of guilt, which I think is what giving back implies.
Yes. And one of the things that you kept coming back to in the book was this theme of impact. That the goal is never about yourself. It's about what yourself leads to, or what you can give, and what the impact of that gift of self is. I see that applying directly to philanthropy, but maybe you can expound a little bit on that theme of impact, and maybe how it does apply to philanthropy and philanthropic giving.
Well, I mean, you've said before that impact is really everything. It's that's what we Uh, I think as human beings, we all have not enough all, but I think most of us, certainly most people, I think, have a desire to make an impact, a positive impact on their world. And I think when it comes to philanthropy, we do so according to our personal value system. So, um, it's interesting if you look at the term happiness. The dictionary definition is the mental feeling of well-being, which I think is a good definition. I take it a little bit deeper. Just my personal definition doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just mine, and I
Mhm.
see happiness, or I would define happiness as a genuine and ongoing feeling of joy and peace of mind, the result of living congruently with one's values. Okay. So if a value of yours is to make the world a better place uh, through philanthropy, through charitable giving, through however you would want to do it, you do it. It's congruent with your values. It makes you happy,
Mhm.
right? Um, and we tend to do it in terms of causes that we feel strongly about. So whether it's animals or whether it's curing cancer or whether it's whatever it happens to be, and they're all worthy. But as we do so, and we typically do so according to our own individual unique values,
Mhm.
that's how we create impact. So we
Yeah.
touch people's lives by doing that. And it's a wonderful thing because it's not an either or. To me, there's nothing self sacrificial or martyrish about philanthropy. Uh,
Hmm.
if one feels that way, I suggest they're doing it wrong.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you should be feeling great about yourself that you did that because it was congruent with your value system and you're making a great impact on humanity.
No, that's a great response too. And so I hope I'm not giving any spoilers here, but in the book, you outline your 5 laws of stratospheric success.
Mhm.
And like I mentioned earlier, as I was going through them, I kept applying them mentally, or trying to apply them mentally in a philanthropic concept or philanthropic framework. But that's what I really want to touch on. So I'd like to go through each of those 5 laws with you, starting with the first one, of course, which is the law of value. So and this says that your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than what you take in payment.
Mhm.
Now, payments, and obviously it's a different concept when you think about
Right.
nonprofits and charity,
Mhm.
but there's certainly forms of non-monetary compensation. How would you apply this law when the compensation is not monetary payment?
Well, the compensation is how you feel about yourself. So, for example, you have a certain cause you give to, and you write out a check, and it benefits them a lot. You've given them great value, um, but you feel great about it, and that's your payback. That's your payment.
Yeah.
And we should feel great about it. Why not?
Mhm.
Again, that's where the really it's two-way value in a sense, right?
Mhm.
But I don't. It's not an either or, and I think that's the key. It's not, and that's why I like to say there should not be anything self-sacrificial about it. You shouldn't be feeling like, oh, I did that even though I didn't really want to. You know,
Yep.
don't get me wrong. There's times in life we do have to do things that for whatever reason that we don't want. But
Mhm.
what I really would want is the charity or the cause or whatever to feel great about it because of the money they're receiving, and the philanthropist to feel great about it because of the feeling they receive from having
Yeah.
donated.
So because you're talking about not being a sacrifice. So obviously there's a gift of time, a gift of money or something, but you're
Sure.
saying that that is a true gift in the sense that I'm giving something of myself to you. Therefore, it shouldn't be a feeling of sacrifice in the
Right.
sense it's,
Exactly.
so in the second law is the law of compensation. So again, similarly, you got monetary compensation here, obviously, in this law, where it says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them.
Well.
I think this can go a number of ways.
Mhm.
And it seems to me that income could be replaced with impact
Well,
in this
yeah.
case.
Well, you're impacting. So, well, here's the thing, and I mean, I think you make a great point. The law of compensation talks about how many lives you impact. Okay, so the
Yes.
law of value is about the value you provide by the very nature of what you're doing, and it could be to one person, one company, one charity, whatever it happens to be. The law of compensation says, yeah, that's great that you provided so much value, but you want to impact a lot of lives. That's the key, right? So
Yes.
if you want to impact, the impact is the quality, the quantity, whereas the value is the quality. So
Mhm.
it's a matter of, are you giving more money to a certain charity? Are you giving various amounts of money to various charities? Are you helping that charity grow in such a way that they're able to impact more people? So you can impact people directly, and you can impact people indirectly. But
Yes.
the more we would say, if you want to take the law of compensation, which again, these are laws of life, but in the book they're applied to business. Here, if
Yes.
we're applying them to philanthropy, it means that the more value you're able to spread around, to impact, the more lives you're able to impact through your philanthropy, the better you're going to feel about yourself.
I will add this too. To your point, these laws, they were strictly applied to business in the book. However, the way you describe it in the book, it's about the humanity of the person on
Sure.
both sides of the equation.
Hmm.
So, and that's why to me it seems to apply so directly into philanthropy too, just with a little,
Sure.
with
Oh yeah,
like you're describing this.
absolutely.
Moving into the third law, the law of influence.
Hmm.
Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. And this one's interesting for me because I've noticed in philanthropy there's somewhat a tendency for people to have a self interest uh, in
Always.
whatever they're doing. Right? Of course, there's always something, but you find some people who are truly giving, like we were talking earlier. So, how does this law of influence apply, maybe from a sense of truly giving, as opposed to having that little twinge of that personal benefit?
Okay, well, let's look at self-interest, because when I said, "Oh, absolutely," that doesn't mean that um, it is that self-interest may not mean in a way that's ego driven, or that they're getting
Mm,
credit, or they're getting the it what I it, it's that, for example, if they just genuinely feel good about themselves, that's what's in it for them. But there's but it's also important to remember that people participate in philanthropy for different reasons.
Mhm.
Okay. So there are some people who, for example, might give a whole lot of money to a cause, and they want to see their name on a building as a result.
Mhm.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just, if I'm that
Right.
charity, good, good. If the big enough donation, your name's going up there, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, we might say, well, but isn't it more pure if they don't want their name on the building? If they do it just out of the goodness of their heart? I don't know. To me, it's a call I don't even care to make because we all find happiness in our own ways.
Mhm.
I just give you an example. There was I remember a time I was in a conversation with somebody, and a mutual friend, a woman we know, joined the conversation. She had just come from some place, and she told us something that she did. It was a really good deed. She had stopped to help someone on the side of the road, and so forth. And it was a very nice thing she did. Now, I could tell in her sharing that with us that she told us because she wanted us to know. She had the need to share that she did something really good. Now,
Mhm.
would we say, well, why did she have to feel like she had to share it with us? Did she just because that was what she does? That was what it did. She would have, even if there was no one to share it with, I know her, she would have stopped and helped that person. But she's
Mhm.
also the type who also feels good about people knowing that she did something like that. I don't judge it. I'm just saying that's what some
Mhm.
people are, whereas other people are more anonymous. They have no need. It's like, well, if God knows and I know, then that's it. That's all I need. That's fine too. You know what I'm saying? There are people who
I
give
do.
anonymously and people who donate and they want their name on it. That's okay.
Mhm.
So in other words, what someone gets out of it is very individual. You know,
Yes.
some people get a lot out of the fact that nobody knows they did it, that they just did it.
Mhm.
They want it because they wanted to, and that's what they get out of it. So when we say place the other person's interest first, again, I go back to that doesn't mean it's about self-sacrifice or anything like that. It just means that you're saying, my values say that those whoever the intended target are needs this money more than I do. Okay.
Mhm.
But I feel good about the fact that I'm doing this. Whether I need to have people know about it, well, that's a whole different thing.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
don't think there's a dualism. I think it's just we all have do things for our own reasons. And you know, as long as the people and the organizations who need the money get the money, I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
The fourth law is then the law of authenticity.
Mhm.
And this one, uh, I'm sorry. The law of authenticity, the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. And this, I think, draws back to what you were talking about earlier, that we all have unique interests because we're uniquely authentic. When we're authentic to ourselves,
Yeah.
we have different gifts to give to the world, right?
Yeah.
So we have different perspectives that we're coming from. And I think uh, that's a way that we can look at it for other people. So what is your take on the authenticity piece when it comes to giving in philanthropy?
Uh, again, I think there's this with authenticity, there's congruency. Um, and I think authenticity itself is acting congruent with your values. Um, I don't think
Mhm.
it's particularly complicated. I mean, I think sometimes people use the word authenticity as a way of not having to have any boundaries because well I'm authentic so I can say or do whatever I want. And I've never
Mhm.
really thought of that as being authentic. That seems more obnoxious than, than authentic. Maybe sometimes the best advice is don't be yourself. No, but no, I'd like to see people utilize the concept of authenticity to continue to grow, and to continue to
Mhm.
become a better, more effective, uh, more productive, authentic version of themselves. But yeah, I mean, I think it's not trying to be someone who you aren't, which goes back to again, however one wants to give and however one wants to be philanthropic. I think they're going to be happiest doing it as they want to do it. And again, I just encourage it as long as it's not hurting someone else, then do whatever makes you happy. Just again, as long as it's not hurting another person as you do it.
Then the fifth law, this is the one, I think it sounds like it's getting most people, is this law of receptivity. And this is the key. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you what, from my experience in nonprofits, my experience in working with folks who are down and out and have gone through some tough times, there tends to be this kind of us-them mentality from those who are giving, those who are volunteering. Not that this happens consistently, but there's sort of this mentality for a lot of folks that if I'm helping somebody, I'm helping lift them up. They don't have anything. I can't take anything from them because they need everything they have for me to pull them up. But with this law of receptivity, I immediately jumped. I can think of some occasions where I learned something from somebody, or I gained a life skill from somebody who I thought I was helping, and turned out they were helping me. So in your view, I want to start out with the bigger question here. Why is this so hard for people? Because I know that you've encountered folks who struggle with this one. And how can we better apply this to become better philanthropists?
Well, first, what you just said was perfect. As far as when you're helping someone else who seems to be at very much a disadvantage, you get to receive plenty because, again, yes, you can learn skills but it's really the good feeling that you have from doing something good for someone else. When it comes to philanthropy, really, that's what the receiving is. It's the good feeling you have about yourself for having, done that. In terms of why is it difficult for people to receive? Yeah, that's a biggie. That's a biggie in the business element because as human beings, we we get so many messages from the world around us that are very lack focused, very what I call anti-prosperity messages. People have kind of a lack of understanding about economic principles and how they work, and because of that, they see very much a fixed pie, and they may not see that for one person to win, the other person doesn't have to lose. In fact, it works better when both parties win because we can
Yes.
all create more value with other. It's not a zero-sum game. There are some things that are. I mean, a baseball game, one team wins, one team loses. But as far as economic principles go, no. That's why free market is the best of any, where no one's forced to engage in business or do business with one another. People do so because of their own choices, because both parties are going to gain. In any free market-based exchange, there are always at least two profits, the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each one comes away better off afterwards than they were before. But this is not something that's taught, you know. And so,
Yeah.
people look at wealthy people and they say, "Oh, what did they have to do to get that?" As though that person did something, wrong. Now, by the way, it's a big world. There's a lot of people who do things in a way that's not as we would like, obviously. But to the degree that one operates in a free market, again, where no one's forced to do business with them, the only way they can earn a lot of money is by providing a lot of value to a lot of people.
Yes.
Okay. And so, but if you don't understand that, if from the, and again, our belief systems are a combination of upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television, everything that's kind of thrown at us. Although by the time we're little more than toddlers, it's basically pretty much set. But if you grow up with a negative attitude about money, about prosperity, about abundance, about business, well, that's in your unconscious. That's always there. Okay. And that's going to be in conflict as you start to be in a position where you're able to thrive and be able to make money. And there's always going, well, but what will people say about me if I make money? Or did I do something wrong to do this? Did I hurt someone else to do this? Again, it's all these false beliefs when it comes to abundance, prosperity, so forth, that really mess people up. So that's why it's so hard to receive for a lot of people.
So I want to round this all out now. This has been a terrific conversation. Thank you so much for
Thank
this, by
you.
the way, and for joining me. So to sum it up, how would you define the go-giver philanthropist?
Well, I mean, I would say, first of all, as a philanthropist, it's someone who wants to make a difference by providing funding or other ways too, but
Mhm,
we think of it usually in terms of financial to causes, organizations, people, what have you, who they can help benefit.
mhm,
Uh, as a go-giver, they do it in a way that they're constantly looking to add value to others, that they're looking to impact a lot of lives, that they're thinking of the in the best interest of those they're giving to, that they're doing it
mhm,
from their own authentic core, and they're able to receive the good feeling of knowing that they acted congruently with their values
mhm.
in bringing help to others.
Bob, thank you so much for this today. Thank you for your book and the great wisdom that you've imparted on me and millions of other people around the world. So, uh, we wish you all the best and certainly all the best success in what you're doing, continuing to spread this good word.
You as well. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Take care.